1. I recently stayed the night at my childhood home. It's an old house built in the 19th century. I never felt at ease in that house. It has an eerie vibe to it. When I was 17, my parents told me that they were able to afford this house, a mansion, because the previous owners desperately wanted to get rid of it. The reason being that their son had hung himself in the attic. Lots of paranormal things have happened to me in that house, but I will give you full details of my last encounter. It happened last week. I stayed the night there because I had a football game that was close to where my parents were living. I didn't feel like waking up super early, so that's why I held a sleepover in my old bedroom. I went to sleep around 10 p.m. or so, not much later. Everything felt normal. I made sure all doors were locked. My parents are on a wellness retreat in Germany, and my brother moved out a while ago, so it was just me at that house. I went to sleep feeling comfortable and quite at ease, even though I was cautious. I texted some of my friends good night, and that was it. The comfortable feeling suddenly wore off when I was awoken at 3 a.m. I heard the music playing, but it was muffled. I couldn't hear it clearly. My first instinct was that it was a car playing music with its windows closed, parked on the street. I said to myself, give it 10 minutes and the car will pass. The music was still playing 10 minutes later. I felt annoyed and quite frankly pissed off. I had to wake up early in the morning, and this was ruining my sleep. I walked to my bedroom window to see where the music was coming from, ready to throw a fit. I opened my blinds, opened the window to look outside. My stomach dropped. There was no car, nor was there anyone else outside. I realized the music was coming from upstairs in the attic. My parents renovated the attic 5 years ago and made it into their bedroom. I knew it had a radio on my mother's bedside. She never used it, though. Most of the time it wasn't even plugged in because she only had one socket, and she used it to charge her phone. It was not a new radio, early 2000s, I guess. My mom held onto it because it was the radio of her departed father. She could not get rid of it. I was freaking out. Why would these kind of encounters happen when I was alone at home? I tried calling my parents. They didn't pick up. My brother didn't pick up either. Not surprising, since it was 3 in the morning. I realized that I would have to deal with this situation alone. I decided to open the door of my bedroom that led up to the hallway. At the end of the hallway there was a circling stair that led up to the attic. I opened my bedroom door, the music became louder. I now could clearly hear which music was playing. It was dark organ music. My stomach dropped again. I never felt as scared as I did then. I did not want to do this alone. I had one last rescue line that I could call. It was my friend Philip. He played Call of Duty until the early hours, so he surely was still awake. I called him and explained the situation. He reassured me that it was probably a problem with an electric outlet that had jump-started that radio. I felt reassured by his answers and made the walk upstairs to the attic. I was with him on the phone the whole time. I stood in front of the door and I could clearly hear the music. It was so loud. I knew I had to get in to turn it off, but I was so frightened. Philip reassured me that everything was going to be all right. It was just faulty wiring. It was just faulty wiring, I kept repeating to myself. I opened the door. The music stopped. I ran downstairs, put on all the lights, and watched Trailer Park Boys until 7 a.m. I played the worst football game in history the next day. We lost 7-0. 2. So a few years ago I worked at a call center. Specifically, I took overflow calls, which basically means when a company is too busy to take their own calls, we pretend to be them and take it for them. But here's the thing. We dealt with thousands of companies. We'd literally pretend to be a new company every single call. And we also had a lot of staff. That's important. So anyway, one day, I receive an overflow call for a sofa company, and I pretend to be the sofa company, answering how the sofa company would answer. But then the caller says, "I'm glad I managed to get through to you." And I was just like, "Oh yeah? Do you want a catalogue?" Because we weren't really the sofa company. I always just try to do the bare minimum, like send someone a catalogue by going to the company's website and ordering it, which anyone could do, instead of just fobbing them off with a callback from the real company. But then she said something I didn't like one bit. "No, I actually don't even want a sofa. I just wanted to speak with you specifically." And I was like getting weird chills at this point because, just to put things into perspective, the chances of her getting through to a person she wanted to get through to in this overflow company were astronomical. She could have dialed 1,000 times and never reached me. Anyway, I was like, "Okay, so what is it you're after?" And then she said to me, "Firstly, I just want you to know that your dad's surgery goes well next week. And I know your nan is worried, but you're going to become closer than you ever were before. And that's saying something because I know you're close now. I love your guinea pigs, by the way. I saw them too." I don't remember exactly what I said after. This was a few years ago now. But I remember ending my sentence with, "Saw them how?" To which she said, "I died, and I can't remember how many years ago in a car accident. When they brought me back, I saw things." My shift had ended at this point, but we kept talking anyway, as if she was an old friend. Truth is, I was worrying about my dad all day during my shift, in fact. But somehow, I believed her that he would be fine throughout his surgery because of what she had said. You could say someone was having a laugh with me. But no one in the company knew my dad was having surgery, or that I was close to my nan or had guinea pigs. Nor is there an outbound call option on our computers. Or you could say it was a friend that doesn't work for the company then, but no one outside the company knew which companies I took calls for. Much less this random sofa company. As I said before as well, the chances of getting through to a specific person you wanted to talk to was next to impossible. One minute I would be a sofa company, the next part of an accident lawyer company. The next minute I'd be buying shoes for some old lady. I still can't explain exactly how it happened. I told my parents, and them being super religious thought that the devil had spoken to me through the call. But this lady was nicer than anything. Anyway, there's my story. It was the only interesting thing that ever happened in that call center. 3. I moved into my house about 3 months ago, and some weird things have been happening. Context: this is a hut built circa 1890, and used to be a medical office as well as a house, used by a doctor and his wife. I couldn't find out what specifically it was, but he just did his consulting here. The doctor died in his bed in the house. His wife also died here. There was a murder that happened next door where a man stabbed his brother, but this wasn't in this house, it was the neighbor's. I have the biggest bedroom, and although I've been trying to find the blueprints since I moved here, I have nothing. I think my room must have been the master bedroom and potentially where they died. Sometimes slightly weird things have been happening. Some things that, although weird or weird coincidences, could be explained scientifically except for one. First thing is, it happens very commonly, is that the wall behind my bed, there's nothing behind the wall, the house ends there, makes a lot of noise. Imagine if you had taken a sledgehammer to the wall and hit it really hard, and the subsequent falling of materials is what I hear. Obviously, it could be explained, and the house makes noises, but nobody else hears this, and the previous tenants also didn't. It makes little sense since there isn't a hollow wall, and there isn't anything there. Secondly, I woke up with 3 deep scratches on my cheek, even though there was nothing in my bed. My nails were extremely short, and none of my bed sheets have any zippers, and my pillows don't have feathers. Thirdly, I have a salt lamp beside my bed, which has previously been pat-tested by the university and deemed safe for use. It started flickering when I was on FaceTime with my friend, and so I jokingly said, "Oh, hi, Dad." For context, my dad passed away a couple of years back. The second I said that, the switch of the lamp started heavily smoking and sparking. Obviously things break, but weird that it happened right after I said that. The one I cannot explain is the one that happened 2 nights ago. For context, I am a cellist, but my cello is currently in a different city. I had a recording of me playing the cello and learning a song, and I stumbled across it in my camera roll, so I played it. It was one of the first times I played the song, so it wasn't good and contained a lot of mistakes. I played it, cringed, turned it off, and went to do something on the other side of my room. I started hearing the recording again, and so I just assumed my phone was playing the video again, so went back to my phone. It wasn't playing from there. Keep in mind, although this was faint, it was very clear and going on for at least 2 whole minutes. It wasn't a cello rendition of the song, it was specifically my playing with all the mistakes. I didn't think much of it, and assumed it was my laptop because I have them connected. Went back and it wasn't coming from my laptop. I assumed it was my AirPods. So found them, and they were dead in their case, and the sound wasn't coming from there. I turned my entire room upside down, trying to find where it came from, with no luck. I have no other technology in my room, and although it's a big room, an echo wouldn't last 2 minutes and wouldn't be so clear. After around 2 minutes it stopped, and I was a bit freaked out, but calmed myself down. I started speaking to my friend and was sending a voice note explaining the situation. The second that I started explaining, my room went from pretty warm to freezing within a second. The window and door were closed. I got freaked out and didn't come back for 2 hours because I was scared. I've never had anything like this happen, and I'm not sure what to do. I've spoken to the previous tenant, and she's never had anything like this happen. Any advice? Thanks in advance. 4. My wife and I have been living in a townhome for a little over a year. There have been a few strange things here and there that I've brushed off as just normal things. Items falling from the pantry, dishes shifting in the sink, strange sounds. The kind where my wife says, "What was that?" And I have no idea, but brush it off as nothing. Fast forward to the present. We have a newborn, and I installed motion sensor LED lights under the bed, so it's easy to see where we're going when we get up with her in the night. I've noticed these go on randomly, or I'll walk upstairs and they're on with no one in the room. Same with the Nanit camera, saying there's motion detected when no one is upstairs. I've just chalked it up to shadows activated it, or something else logical must have activated it. We also put up our Christmas tree this weekend, but Sunday morning I woke up to the top half of the tree lights being burned out. Okay, that's weird, but what are you going to do? Then later that night we're on the couch and watch the middle section of the tree lights get really bright. I mean, way too bright for a normal Christmas tree light. And then they completely burned out. Each plastic bulb had scorch marks on it. Okay, so that's weird, but it must just be a wiring thing? Here's where I need input. Tonight, I went into the nursery, the room across from ours, upstairs, where we do a lot of diaper changes and feedings, etc. She doesn't stay in there on her own yet, because she's so young. However, her and I went in to get a bottle going, and then I noticed a flashing pink light from the closet. The room is pitch black, so I had no idea what it was. I turned the light on, and there were light-up rain boots for when she gets older, activating on their own. I've never seen that happen, ever, and honestly forgot they were there. We were nowhere near them, and I wasn't walking at the time, thinking maybe my footsteps triggered them. The baby had fallen asleep, false alarm on the bottle, so I promptly took her back to our room across the hall and put her in the bassinet right next to my side of the bed. Not long after that, the motion detector lights from under the bed started going off, at least 4 times. The sensor to activate these lights is right next to my side of the bed and the bassinet, meaning whatever was triggering the lights would have to have been right next to us. The floor would light up for 35 to 45 seconds, go black for 15 to 30 seconds or so, and then go off again. It was bizarre. I grabbed my baby and pulled her up to me because I was just getting a weird feeling. She's still sleeping on me. I don't know if I will sleep tonight. There was just something off-putting about it. If anyone has any information on whether or not I'm looking too much into this, or if there's something here, please let me know. 7:30 a.m. Update. The light-up shows keep going off throughout the night when I had to go in that room to get a bottle and change her diaper. So much so that I started to think that they were just bugging out. Now that I'm in the room this morning, they aren't lighting up at all on their own. It does not give me a great feeling. Doesn't feel like anything sinister, but was somewhat off-putting. 1:30 p.m. Update. Further clarification. This morning, when the light-up puts weren't flashing, I picked them up and hit them on the ground. I wasn't getting any response, so I started to think they had just bugged out and the batteries were dead. Later this afternoon, I went into that room to change a diaper. I took some advice I'd been given and said the words, "You're not welcome here, please leave." And the butts lit up at once. I absolutely kid you not. The next words out of my mouth were, "Oh, Jesus Christ." I changed the diaper quickly, turned back around to the butts and said again, "Whoever you are, whatever you are, please leave us alone. Whether you mean us well or not, please leave. You are not welcome." And again, I kid you not, the butts lit up once. I don't know if that was an acknowledgement or a fuck you. Time will tell. Any other thoughts are welcome. 5. I was somewhere between the age of 10 to 14 when this happened. Growing up, I lived on a very boring street in a middle-class 1-story house. My bedroom faced the front veranda, which had a lot of plants. Just around the corner and down the hall from my bedroom was a study that was used as a spare room and computer room. I used to watch TV in that room, and on this particular night it was very hot, so I had opened the door to the veranda. There was a thin fly screen with no lock, which we would pull across when that door was open. When I went to bed, it was so hot that I kept my bedroom windows and curtains wide open. I was having trouble sleeping and laid there staring at the ceiling. Then I heard what sounded like someone walking around on the veranda. The ground was cement pebbles, and there was a lot of dirt from the pot plants, and it made a very distinct sound when you walked on it. At first I assumed it was one of my parents, but it was very late at night, and that wouldn't have made any sense. I craned my neck to look out the window. In the dark I saw a gaunt, skeletal, hunched-over figure slowly shuffling towards my bedroom window. It made a raspy sound as it shuffled around. I was fairly certain it couldn't see me, but from the way its head was moving it looked like it was searching for something. Despite this fairly creepy thing happening outside the bedroom window, I still felt somewhat safe in the comfort of my bed inside my locked house. Then I realized I had left the study door open. All that stood between whatever the hell this thing was in my house was a thin screen door with no lock. I knew I had to lock that door, and fast. This thing was almost at my bedroom window, and would soon be at the study door. I slid out of bed and crawled on my stomach out of my room and down the hall to the study. As I reached the door, intending to quickly close it, I realized my mistake. I would have to open the screen door in order to reach the door to close it. From where I was laying, I could see this thing hunched over and peering into my bedroom window. I think it heard or sensed me laying there, because it turned and shuffled over and bent down to where I was laying. I held my breath as this thing put its face right against the screen and peered in at me, its raspy breath sounding like death. In the dark, I could make out part of a face. It looked gaunt, sickly, either with very thin or no skin. I couldn't see any eyes, or they were simply empty sockets. It didn't move as its face pressed up against the fly screen, seemingly looking right at me. Suddenly its face distorted in terror, its eye sockets and mouth opening wide, and it let out a blood-curdling shriek, a shriek that sounded like fear. And it bolted off into the night. I lay there silently frozen in fear and disbelief over what had just happened, and listening to make sure it was gone. As soon as I dared to move, I quickly opened the fly screen and shut and locked that veranda door. I then went back to my room and shut the windows and drew the curtains. I kept peeking through the curtain, expecting it to come back, but it never did. I've thought about this encounter ever since, and I have never really been sure what to make of it. I've never told anyone about it either. I didn't know where to begin, and I've never understood why it reacted in fear when it saw me. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Paranormal Stories, episode 355. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Please do poke the like button before you leave, it helps YouTube recommend the videos to others. And if you'd like to get early access to the content, then you can support me through my Patreon, which is linked in the description. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer Teespring merchandise store. And you can make donations during streams and videos like this one. Just press the little heart with the $sign in it below the video. While you don't have to do this, I do very much appreciate it, and thank you kindly to everyone who has. Alright, no other business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: are you looking forward to the year being over? Or have you had a really good year and you don't want it to end? Speaking personally, I am quite eager for this year to be over. Health-wise, it's not been great. Some good things have obviously happened to me, but hopefully better things are happening in 2024 because that's the year my Jack and I get married. So yeah, 2024 to me, I'm not going to make any predictions because I've done that before and it's worked out badly. But better plans are ahead, put it that way. Why don't you let me know what you think in a comment below. I look forward to reading them. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. I've got lots more videos to make. It's a very recordy, worky kind of day. Then I'll make food. Then I'll watch Doctor Who, possibly. So until next time, thank you very much for listening. And take very good care of yourselves.